permission. These are now open spaces. You guys,
absolutely.
And for me, I think the biggest benefit of this has been the way that people have taken ownership of it. I mean, this thing is now being driven by people. I don't have to do very much anymore. In fact, just leave it in everyone's hands and they run with it. So that, I think, for me is the biggest takeaway.
Absolutely. So, Uncle Rob, I'm going to slide in the background. I think it's your cue.
Let me talk to, I just wanted to explain to Moses a little bit the background to all of this. So Moses, you will forgive me that I didn't give you a proper background. I just sort of dumped you in the deep end.
No worries.
I just wanted to let you know that a thought occurred to me about 2 weeks ago that, in a sense, for you as a spiritual and religious man, God had given us 40 days. 40 days to use as we saw fit for our benefit. And I felt that I could contribute to the people that I engage with regularly by creating some kind of session where people could benefit from my own experiences, but also from my networks, bringing together people on this forum and in this audience to share and help others grow. Because people there, they're doing what you'd say nothing. So this is an opportunity to contribute something positive, so that by the time we come out of, I know there's a lot of grief, I know there's a lot of pain, but many of us are going to come out of this alive. And as you said, we need to look beyond the pandemic. So I was hoping that I could contribute towards that kind of preparation during this time, other than people spending their time on these platforms complaining and quarreling and abusing each other and whatever it is they do. So we could come out of this with growth and positivity.
Yeah.
So that's really the purpose of this conversation, and it can take any route, any direction, whichever one we choose. So it's now, at least by my clock, it is 1 minute after 7, and I really, really want us to get started and dive into it, Moses. And so, first of all, just to let you know, again, you've now broken a record. Before we even start, there is already nearly 500 people logged on. Now, we haven't started saying anything. So, you can imagine the level of expectation out there.
No pressure.
So Moses, do you want to greet guys fairly quickly before I throw in my question?
Thanks, first of all, Robert, for this great idea of adding value. As a member of the John Maxwell team, that's our mantra. We are always looking to add value to people and finding ways of doing it. So this is very, very innovative and creative of you. So thank you so much. And to everyone who's joining us tonight, thanks for joining us. It's always, no one loses by learning new things or relearning old things. So thank you for taking the time out. I hope we'll have a great time together.
So Moses,
yes.
For many people now sitting out there, we're now in a monetary economy. Most of them are really, really, they're anxious. They have fears. They have concerns. They're wondering how can they, whatever they have, little or a lot, whatever it is, this thing of money, you seem to have some principles that have mastered it, that can reassure people listening. What are those principles, those enduring principles that you have learned and passed on to other people, those time-tested principles relating to money that you really at the outset want to pass on? And you can tell our people and say, look, if you only master these, even if you learn nothing else, you will be fine. That's the reassurance we're looking for. Can you take us through it, Moses?
First of all, it would be good to give a bit of a background, because sometimes when you're giving people information, they think that you have always had it. I studied architecture. That's what I studied at Makerere. Architecture school. Yeah. So I'm an architect. I design buildings.
Then what happened? You're now building lives.
Yes, things keep changing. But so I got into the marketplace and worked for 9 years. Mm-hmm. And then after 9 years of work, I attended a talk by Patrick Vitature. And that day, he just stood there and spoke for about an hour. It hit me. I knew nothing about how money works. Right. Because I had nothing to show for my 9 years of work. Like, I mean, absolutely nothing. I had a wife and 2 kids at the time, which is responsibilities. And that was all. No assets, no piece of land, nothing.
You just had a cost center called
Wow. Yes, I had a cost center called marriage. So I started looking around among my friends and realized I was not a unique situation. Like 90% of everyone else, that was the story. Many years of work, nothing. The money comes and goes. You know how to make the money and you know how to spend the money.
Yes. So
it was a rude awakening. That's when I started reading about finances, reading all these books by different authors about finances. Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, the Rich Dad series, Trump's books. I mean, anyone who had written about money and the books were available. So that's when I started realizing that after 18 years of study, if you don't count the ones I repeated, if you're just...
Let me... Musika, that makes the two of us. In Musika, they call it okudabura.
Okudabura. After 18 years of study, they didn't teach us a single lesson, even of 30 minutes, on how to manage money.
Yeah.
And now this was the result. The result was we didn't know how to handle money. We had studied all the other things, history of West Africa, Mansa Musa, Dahomey, Ghana, geography, if you remember Saskatchewan, you know, those were topics that terrorized us, Canadian prairies, Swiss Alps, but not a single lesson on saving and investment.
Yes.
So I realized it was like a problem. So as I started reading and sharing with my friends, at that time I was leading the church. So then I had sort of a greater opportunity to share with more people. And as we shared and spoke to people, told people in the church, and things started changing, that's how we ended up writing the book, Straightforward Financial Growth. So you said about the 5 principles, really. The first principle is acquiring financial knowledge. That's the first one, because everything starts in your head.
What?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you mean by acquiring financial knowledge? Do I go and become an accountant? Do I learn how to become a cashier? What does that actually mean?
Basically, no. You start reading.
Yeah? Moses.
You start. Yes. Can you hear me?
What does acquiring financial knowledge? That first principle. What is it for? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. So what is in that is start reading about money from people who have practiced the principles and they seem to have succeeded. People who are writing. Money is one of the most written about topics, I think, next to love. But there are lots of people who have written about money. So
love, they just sing about it.
Yeah, they love sing. Yeah, people don't have enough time to read the whole book. So 3 minutes and you know the whole thing.
Okay.
So that's what it means. It's actually read or listen to people who seem to know how this money thing works and get into their environments. Get some relationships, because they say you're the average of the 5 closest people to you. So if you hang out with people who are moving in the other direction, that's the direction you go. So basically, that's the first principle. Get knowledge on finances. This is different from academic knowledge. I like joking when we are doing straightforward financial growth seminars that the guys who used to sit at the back of the class, I said, where you sat in class doesn't determine where you sit on the plane.
I used to sit at the back of the class.
Here we go. So we always thought that if you sit at the front and you're an A student, you're going to succeed financially. No, it doesn't work like that. If you sit at the front and you're an A student, you'll be employed by the people who succeed financially, because the two volumes of knowledge are completely different from each other. Financial knowledge versus academic knowledge. Yeah. Good. So that's one. The second principle is you work hard and smart. I think that one we shouldn't belabor it. How do you know you're working hard and smart? You're working longer hours. You're getting up before anyone else, and you're putting in the work. You feel that drain. Some people think that they can just somehow be around and operate on deals, deal here, deal there. Okay, deals are good, but if you don't know how to work hard and smart, still you won't be able to do it. So that's the second principle. The third principle is to manage your money. And I think in Uganda, this is like it's a financial pandemic. Because
which virus is that?
This one is bad. And this is where I was. 9 years of working as an architect. Architects are expected to make some money. And I had nothing. So what I've found is that this is actually a serious problem in Uganda. People make money.
No, hold on a moment, Moses. Just kindly break down and describe for us the nature of this problem. How does it manifest itself, this poor management of money or lack of management of money?
So let me give you an illustration. I'm sure you studied history and you remember the transatlantic slave trade.
Yes.
So in the days of slavery, the slave owner was responsible for the slaves' food, clothing, housing, medical care, entertainment, lest the slave runs away, and a couple of other things. Okay?
Yeah.
And then we'll say, okay, this is 2021. We are not in the days of slavery. Fair enough. So let's say you get a job. For purposes of mathematics, I'm going to make it easy that you earn 1 million shillings.
Yeah.
Okay. So you earn 1 million shillings. Your friends ask you after the pandemic, now you can't go to the rugby club, but if you go to the rugby club and your friends say, hey, what's up? You seem to be doing well. Yeah, things are good. I got a job. And then they ask, how much do you make? And you're like, I make 1 million. Okay. So that's your income. Now you go to church. Allow me bring in church at this point. You go to church and the preacher preaches and they talk about tithe. So you leave 100K at church. You have 900 left. Now, then you have to pay rent. Okay, let's say your rent is about 300,000. Now let's say I am the one who is employed. I work at Rugeo Farm or Kabishenga Incorporated. So I come, you give me the money, but then I go and pay the landlord. Let's say Comrade Ottawa is the landlord.
Yes.
Okay. I transfer 300,000. Now, there are many of us who work for you. So you don't have time to go around negotiating our rental contracts with all our landlords.
Yes.
So you give us one package and say, my friend, make this thing work. So now, here's what happens. So really, who just paid? Who paid? If I parent, who paid the money?
It is you.
No, that's not true. It is you.
Okay. Yeah.
The employer, you have just paid the money. And who just got paid? Comrade Ottawa.
Yes.
He just got paid 300,000. Now, who thinks they got paid?
It is you who thinks you got paid.
I think I got paid just because the money was transferred through my account
to the landlord.
To the landlord.
So you are
the money
holding. Your account is a transactions account. It's not a holding account.
You're a courier. I'm a courier. So Kamshenga needs to pay.
Your mobile money.
Kamshenga needs to pay the landlord because the landlord needs to house me in order for me to come and work. Otherwise, I would have to go back to the village where there is free what? Free rent, free housing.
Accommodation.
So now I have 600,000 left. Now transport.
Yes.
To and from work. Let's say that was another maybe 200,000. 150. Let's do 150 midway. So it's the employer paying the transporter, the guys of border, safe border, bus, whatever. Now I think I'm being paid. Now we have at this point 450 left. Then throw in utilities of every kind: water, power, gas, etc. It's about 100.
Another 150. 100, okay. Fine, 100.
Yeah. We have 350 left. Now, food. You have to eat. So apart from that lunch they give you at work, if they give it to you, let's say you're spending another 150,000
on eating, subsistence.
On eating, yes. And at this stage you must avoid things like going to certain places where 1 meal is 75,000 because that's half of your monthly budget for food.
You're something called chikumi. That's chikumi.
So now you have 200,000 left. Okay. Then by the time you've done, you do shopping for clothing and other things you use in the house, soap, etc.
There is another claimant who asks for transport before she comes for the weekend. That one.
Hey.
Hey.
We haven't even reached that one yet. But by the time you're done with those, you have 50K left. And then if you bring in the claimant and airtime, and this is Kampala until the lockdown came. Kampala is the entertainment capital of East Africa. There is this concert, there is that thing, there is the other.
Yes.
Before you know it, I know you employed many people for many years at Vision Group. Have you heard of something called Advance?
Now we have entered the date. I agree with you. Hey, I used to sign it every Friday.
Now you are in Advance. But what did you tell people? You told people you make 1 million. But do you really make 1 million?
Now, here is another one I learned because bankers used to come to me and complain. The man goes and gets a personal loan from the bank. And he says the date of deduction is the 30th. But for me, I pay him on the 26th, the money hits his account on the 28th. On the 29th, the man goes with ATM card and he cleans out everything.
By the time the bank is trying to win... By the time the bank is trying to get their deduction, it's finished.
Quisha, nothing left. So again, now interest, default, and so on. So I'm beginning to get your drift now. Sorry, go on, Moses.
Yeah. So now you earn negative 300,000.
Wow.
That's your negative 300K. That's your actual income is negative 300,000.
Wow.
And so we said that the only money that is really yours is that which you save to invest.
Yes.
Yeah. That principle is from the richest man in Babylon. The only money that is really yours is that which you keep to invest. Because what you've been doing, you've been transferring money from your employer to everyone else, and somehow you think that you are making money, which is not true. So there's something we talk about, we call it the chwai principle. You know, like if you put a chwai, it's not a real word, but if you get the picture, if you put a pan on fire, and you hit it, and then you pour some little water in the pan, what happens?
It goes
you just hear with a lot of vapor. Now, that's how some people's personal economies are. By the time the money arrives, the pan is hot. And like we like to say, all you see is vapor. It's gone.
You know, Mukisa,
yes.
I must confess, that's how I used to be.
Kamshanga, are you serious?
If you found me in the club silk on a Friday, I was like that. Then by Monday, the saucepan is so hot, the water doesn't even have time for chwa.
It starts vaporizing before. Yeah. One guy said that money talks. It always says bye to me. And then his friend said, for you at least it talks to you. For me it waves from a distance. Before it reaches, it has already been diverted. You know, car loan, all the things that, you know. So you find someone working for 40 years and they have nothing to show for it. And the only thing that they have, if they are lucky, is NSSF, which was withheld by force. Because everyone, first of all, is complaining, my money, NSSF, what? Forging papers to go and get it. And yet it's the only real, wealth they have, which was taken without their consent. Yeah. So that's the money management conundrum we are in.
Okay. Number 4.
Number 4 is make wise investments.
Okay.
Yeah. So if the money just sits on the account, it's losing value. Assuming you're saving it. So now you have to invest it, and you have to make sure your investments are having a certain return on investment percentage per annum to rise above the inflationary rate and build your wealth.
So let me see, Moses, let me see first of all if I understand that principle. You are saying that you must put your money in activities that will earn a certain percentage of that money in return. It should be either 10%, whatever it is. And that what you're saying is that in order for it to keep value, that return should be higher than the rate of inflation, because inflation eats away at the value of the money as it is. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So many people understand the idea, but then they get stuck when it comes to how to execute it. It seems like in Kampala, every time you talk about investment, the only thing people think about is real estate. Buy land, build apartments.
Even in a swamp.
So we seem stuck there, like that's the only idea. So what I've done. So first of all, I advise that of all your income, you should not be investing less than 20%. If you invest sub 20%, you will not manage your latter years in life well. You'll have a much harder life as a senior citizen.
What do you mean?
You really want me to tell you? This is good. This is very okay.
Talk. What are you fearing? First of all, you're in your house. You are in your phone. There's nothing that's going to. You talk. You tell. You Mukisa. You tell these Ugandans. Let them learn, please.
So it's 20%. Now I'm going to use a story in the Bible. Pharaoh had a dream.
Yes.
The Pharaoh of Egypt. 7 thin cows ate 7 fat cows. And what was amazing is that they remained thin. 7 thin stalks of wheat swallowed 7 fat ones, and they remained thin. So he told all these astrologers, magicians, they couldn't get it. And they brought some Hebrew boy called Joseph. So Joseph tells Pharaoh, these things mean one thing. There's going to be 7 years of plenty. And after 7 years of plenty, there's going to be 7 years of scarcity. And he didn't end there. He told him what he should do. He told him that he should get a wise person who should gather 20% of all the grain in Egypt during the 7 years of plenty. 20%. Because it said a fifth. In the story, it says a fifth. So 20% of all the grain, and that 20% will sustain the country in the 7 years of what? Of scarcity. Now, Pharaoh was like, no, we can't get any wiser one than you. You are the one who has the solution. So do it. So he starts doing it. Now, when Joseph was buying this 20% from, when there is plenty, the basement prices, I imagine. No one was asking, why is Pharaoh buying all the grain? What's going to happen? Yeah, people were happy to give it away at almost free.
Yes.
And that's until the what? Until the 7 years ended. Then the famine started. And in those Pharaoh took over everything because they ran out of money, the money they had sold the grain to Joseph with. Then they said, we are out of money. What do we do? So he said, bring your cows. So they gave Pharaoh all the cows. Now that's movable assets. Money is liquid assets. Cows is movable assets. So Pharaoh owned all the animals. Still they ran out. Then they said, now what are we going to do? We are out of... They said, no, bring the land. So they sold the land to Pharaoh. They gave them, those are fixed assets.
Yes.
And then they still ran out of money. They went, we're out of, even the land is gone. Now we will serve you. We will be your slaves. We are bringing our hands. So I call that reverse economics. Like, as you grow older, you shouldn't be moving back to your starting job where you're 80 years old and you have to report to your 25-year-old supervisor explaining why you're late.
That one is tough.
Yeah, that's what happened to the Egyptians. Now, here's the thing. The thing I like to point out that let's use this information figuratively. And let's say Kapshenga is going to defy all the odds and live for 100 years, okay?
That I can do.
Yes, I think so. So let's say the first 20 years are years of general education, okay?
Yes.
So we are left with 80 years. Now let's divide the 80 years into two halves.
Yes.
So you have the first 40 years, that's between 20 and 60. And then the last 40 years between 60 and 100.
Yes.
What you do with your money between 20 and 60, your capacity to save and invest will determine what happens between 60 and 100.
Yes.
And I've done a little bit of social research and I've found that a lot of people who have been in the formal sector, because they have not prepared for post-employment life, usually die between 2 to 10 years after employment. No. Stretches.
No. Moses.
Yes.
Tops. 5 years.
5 years.
If they have pushed 5.
Okay. Now, I was being lenient because I didn't want to scare people on the call. But 5 actually is more accurate. And you know why people die? It's not because suddenly their bodies are rioted and they want to die. No. They are out of resources. Because in the bumper years, they were spending all the money on everything out there. And now they have given you that letter saying you have worked long enough, bye-bye. Now, for many people, the only thing they have is their NSSF money. Now, do you know the number of what percentage of NSSF savers lose all their money within 2 years or less?
Tell me.
98%.
Wow.
98%.
They are broke within 2 years of getting the NSF money.
Yeah, because they were not practiced in the art of investment. You've just been living paycheck to paycheck, then suddenly they give you 800 million or 300 million, whatever, and you're supposed to figure it out. So the first thing they do is build a house in the village. I mean, what does a house in the village have to do with the rest of your life?
And if that village is like my village in Nyakabungo, there is even no tarmac road going there. You will never get a tenant, but you have a double-storied house with the...
So you move to Nyakabungo, but all your friends that you used to hang out with are either in Kampala or they have also gone to their villages. Now, the real tough thing is that all your social contacts are gone. You can no longer go back to work and say, hey, hi guys, I'm here hanging out. No, your social contacts are gone. You don't have the money. Now you're depending on your children to sustain you. That's what stresses old people. And all that stress brings all these other diseases to take advantage of their severely reduced immunity. And then they just die.
There's a new word for it. It's called underlying conditions, comorbidities. So the pandemic you are talking about finds you when you have underlying conditions.
Exactly. So that's the real problem right there. That's why I tell people not less than 20%. Not less than 20% should be put away and invested. Yes.
But Moses, you're talking about 20% for, let's say, someone who is between the age of 20 and 30. If anybody is anywhere heading to the 40s and just starting, it's going to be at least 40% because you've already lost the first.
Yeah, if you've already lost the first 10 years, you can't be doing 20%. It's catch-up time. It's catch-up time.
Yeah.
And then I tell people that when you're investing, I've developed what I call an investment scale.
Okay.
To say there are three kinds of investments. There is the low risk, low return investments. Then there is medium risk, medium return, and high risk, high return.
Yeah.
So low risk, low return is going to be real estate in the Ugandan sense. That's really real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. And then medium risk, medium return may mainly include financial instruments, treasury bills, mutual funds like unit trust funds, bonds, and all of that. And then high risk, high return is business equity. So I like to tell people that if you are not yet a water worker on investments, like you don't work on water, you work on land like the rest of us, start by making sure that at least 50 to 60% of your investments should be low risk, low return. And then I say 30 to 35% should be medium risk, medium return. And only 10 to 15% should be high risk, high return. Let me tell you a story. There was something called forex trading. You're a news person, so you know. Forex trading. You will not say anything. That is high risk, high return. Over high risk, no return. Now, what people did, they went and disposed of. We also dived into that thing. But we had enough sense somehow to have limits, to say, I don't really understand how this thing works. I shouldn't be diving in full swing. Now some people, they liquidated their real estate.
Testing the depth of the river with both feet.
Exactly. And things went south. I keep saying, if you only had 10% there and it goes because you are trying to increase your return on investment, you still have 90% of your assets to recover. So that's how I generally advise people.
But Moses,
yes, go ahead. Yes.
So how do you distinguish between what you're calling high risk investment and sheer gambling on good luck, and going into betting and generally things which are unscientific, just where do you draw the line? No, you don't laugh. Because I have seen people. The man goes and he gets 20 million shillings and puts it on, and he says England is going to win.
Ooh.
Is that high return or that's
not an investment?
Mbuzanga fala. I'm just asking like a fala. You tell me. What?
Well, let's start with the basics. That's not an investment. So it's an investment when it's an investment when you know how that value is made up. Okay. You're telling me I give you $3,000, it will become 3,500 after 6 months. Tell me, how will it become? If you cannot explain to me how that value is gained, then it's a gamble. So there has to be a logical explanation of where has that value come from.
Now, let me also add, Moses, here now from a bit of experience now at my age, if the answer to that question, the person talks many things in a lot of English and you're having trouble understanding.
like collateralized debt obligations. Or credit default swaps. Go ahead.
If the person is speaking in a language very quickly, first of all, he speaks at a high speed using words you don't understand, then the truth is you don't understand. That's my experience. So don't go anywhere near those things.
Exactly.
Okay.
Don't get near that stuff. You have to understand how it works. And the problem, the mistake most people make with their money is that they think that someone else has to think through the thing for them. So when I'm coaching people, I tell them, I am your coach, but I'm not going to do that for you. You have to think through it for yourself because it's your own sweat and blood that you've spent to make this money. You should be responsible enough to know how it works. Don't delegate that to someone else.
Moses, let me throw in another one also, because I also have some experiences to share. But this one, I am telling particularly the women. If you are involved emotionally with somebody, let me finish, Moses. Let me finish mentally. Don't laugh.
I'm listening.
If you are emotionally involved with somebody, please, and the person starts talking about taking you into investments, and the money that's being invested is yours as the woman. And the only reason you are accepting this investment is because of feelings of love. I can assure you, you are cooked and finished for the rest of your life. Am I wrong there, Moses?
You are 100% correct. I keep telling people that the word money and the word emotion should never be found in the same sentence or on the same page. Even in investment clubs, these things of we have invested, we are friends, what? No. Everything in writing without emotion. Yeah.
Yes.
So emotion and money don't mix. When they mix, very bad things happen.
Today is the day that the Lord has chosen, not so.
I believe you're a prophet. Yes, I'll take it that way.
So I have even forgotten, Moses. Had we finished point number 5?
Okay, point number 5 is live generously. Yeah.
What does that
mean? What does that mean? There are many principles of generosity. I will approach this from a Christian perspective, even though not necessarily everyone is that. But one, so generosity has to be a thing you practice, not again out of emotion. Because even as a church goer and a church person, I know that even church people fall prey to church tricks because of emotion. So you live by principle. So for me, what that means is that I give 10% to the church of my income. We call it tithe in church. And then I practice the principle of generosity with other people. You have a percentage that you give to other causes because there are things going on the whole time. You heard that I've already been summoned about Musika College Mwiri and my account big in the negative at the moment. So that's how we basically to share things with people who matter with the neighborhood. I teach people a lot about the principle of honoring your father and mother. It's in the Bible. Yeah. And I found that actually honoring your father and mother involves sharing your resources with them. If you're lucky enough to have parents and then they're older years, they shouldn't be struggling to barely make it while you are having fun in Kampala. You must regularly check on them and take care of their essential needs. Because they should never have to ask.
As they say, I think this is probably somewhere in the Quran, that they are God's representatives on earth. Your parents.
So they should never have to ask. Yes, go ahead.
So I want to put this to you, Moses. I mean, talk to me or talk to our guys about making money ethically. A lot of people feel that if you try, you just do make money the right way. And people think in this town that the only way you're going to be rich is if you do a quick deal or if you do, I don't know what. I don't even know how to describe it. That then you make it big. That's it. So what would you say about those kinds of quick sharp deals? I don't know this and that. Just talk to us. Is that how? Because a lot of young people, I've listened to young people. They say, "Now me, I'm going to become a procurement manager, and then after that, I start making money." Have you met those kinds of situations?
Yes, I have. And I think, first of all, that's a very poor approach to life. Because when you've defrauded people, I mean, we all read news and newspapers. This amount of money was given for this cause. It can't be found. This can't be found. I mean, we can't build a nation like that to start with, because you have to ask yourself, like people who create extra lanes in traffic.
Yes.
You have to ask yourself, what would happen if everyone started doing that?
Yes.
Because if everyone started doing that, even your seeming advantage is gone. Yeah. You will no longer have any advantage left if everyone does that. So if you are going to do that, ask yourself, what would happen if everyone starts doing that? That's how you end up with no nation.
That's true.
So there is a very clear way of making money. You solve problems.
Right.
Money is a reward for solving problems. The day I learned that principle, I got delivered. Yes.
Moses, can you repeat that slowly and clearly, please?
Money is a reward for solving problems. Yeah. So money is a reward for solving problems.
When you solve somebody's problem,
yeah,
then you will be rewarded with the money.
Exactly.
So that is the sustainable way.
That is the sustainable way and very good way. In fact, I read in a book by Daniel Lapin that every banknote is a certificate of performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every banknote, when you sell Regeo coffee,
yes,
and then you get some banknotes from whoever is buying, so those are certificates. You're being awarded
for solving somebody's problem. Somebody who wants to get a kick of caffeine.
Who wants to get a kick, a caffeine kick from the coffee.
Aha.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's how economies around the world run or are supposed to run. So money is a reward for solving problems. Someone said that entrepreneurs are people who solve problems for a profit.
Wow.
And entrepreneurs are people who solve problems for a profit. All right. And the difference between wealthy people and poor people is that wealthy people know how to convert their time into tangible resources or tangible products and services. Yes. So it's a matter of conversion. Time we all have. The
We all
cost
have
is
24
high.
hours.
Yeah, we all have 24 hours.
That one God gave all of us equally. 24 hours.
Yeah, there is no inequality at all. So then it's a case of how much of each of your hours are you able to convert into cash, ethically, legally, and morally. So once we get that, then we have conquered half the mountain. Because for most people, they were told, go to school, get a good job with benefits, and you'll make it. So their whole approach to money is an employer who pays you some money every month for showing up. Let's not even talk about performance yet.
For showing up at 8 in the morning and leaving
at 5. So that doesn't work in real life because that world is gone. Look, we are here now. There is nowhere to go at 8 and come back at 5. You're stuck at home, midnight to midnight. The point is, wherever to think, what problem can I solve now? For what person? Once you start solving problems, money starts coming to you. Yeah.
So let me now stop you there a bit, Moses, and just go back to what you have just said, just for emphasis and for people to learn that if there is any lesson you take away from our conversation this evening, is that use the next whatever remaining days of lockdown to think, what problem exists in the world that I can solve today and convert into money? Is that your message to us?
Yes. And even when you are employed,
yes,
here is what can change your working life. When you look at your employer as a client and not an employer.
How do you distinguish the two?
No, just think if you work for Ruggiero Farm as an accountant, instead of thinking that Kabshenga is my boss, think Kabshenga is my customer. And then start doing what business people do for customers to retain them and to get those customers to even give them more business.
That is profound.
Yeah.
That's absolutely profound. I know there is one person on the group who is listening. Hilary Bamulinde, I have sent you an invite. Can you please accept it? I have sent you an invite to speak, so please accept it quickly while I'm still conversing with the Moses. So Moses, let's go back. Do you want to talk a bit more about how people can improve their management? The other problems which we described, what can people do to improve their management of money?
Yeah. Excuse me. So one of the first things you do to improve your management of money is use percentages. That helped me a lot. To say 20% of my income is going to be saved and invested when I just started. Okay? Because that takes the emotion out of it. So they pay you 1 million, 200,000 goes to a separate account, which preferably has another signatory who you can't easily manipulate.
Madam.
So you start sending, so you do that. So percentages are very helpful. Robert Kiyosaki said that determine where the money will go before it arrives. Because once the money arrives, you somehow lose your capacity to think clearly for whatever reason, which I don't know.
Yes.
The second thing you can do is get with people or groups of people to invest together. So this is investment clubs and circles. Yes. Because these spaces have rules. You must save this much every month. You must. So they constrain you, and you can't go back and say, "I want my money." No. So get into groups where you will be held accountable, but you also hold them accountable. Yeah. So if you are a member of any investment club or circle, you should be the noisiest person there.
The person with the most gezi.
asking questions the whole time. What is our return on investment this year? What is our expected what? How much money do we have? Where has it been invested? They call for a meeting. You are there. You are the one always putting your hand up. That's how you protect your money. That means whoever is leading the investment club, the committee, if they ever think maybe this is a good investment, or they are going to think, but Mukisa asks many questions. Let's consult. Let's make sure we don't make a wrong investment. We don't want to get into issues. So I think that just those two steps, and please have a separate account for your money for investments. Don't mix up the tomato money and the money for future. So those should be separate. Yeah.
And someone once told me that even that money, the one you are talking about, once you have separated it, give it to madam and move on. So if at the end of that exercise you have nothing, it is okay, because you will have saved, you will have invested, and you will have sorted out the kitchen. Now, if you have nothing left, it is okay. So Moses, I want to. Normally, this is the time at which I bring in my sidekick, Comrade Ottawa, but I just want to sort of deviate a bit and bring in Hilary Bamulinde, who has mentored us before. But I really want to listen to the two of you talk to each other now. I want to hear how your combined wisdom, the two of you. Hilary, what?
Hello, Robert.
You have been listening. You talked. The two of you talk to each other. I'm not going to ask you questions. Now you advise us. You talk like people you have made money. You understand these things. The rest of us don't know. Now you talk to us. We are not going to say anything until I stop you. You talk now. The two of you talk to each other.
You have put me in very big shoes.
But Bamulinde, your shoes are now okay. You don't borrow Mukisa's shoes. You have yours. Let Mukisa also have his shoes. Now you roll.
Glad to hear you, Hilary. I've been reading a lot of your articles and forwarding them to all my people, and I think you are a very brilliant mind on this topic. So thanks for sharing this evening.
Thank you, Moses. Yes, I try a little bit. Moses, one of the things I would love you to address or touch on is the perception among many young people that there's no point saving in your 20s. Most people think you should start saving, or maybe in your late 30s or 40s for your retirement. And I've written a number of posts on Twitter and other platforms telling people that ideally you start saving or investing for your retirement while still in your 20s. And it's something that, of course, some people take lightly, but from my experience, I always tell people, if you get your retirement money, it is money you should never in a business you have never done. You don't retire at 55 and all of a sudden you're getting NSF money and starting a poultry farm. And I've seen from live examples parents of my friends losing all that money within 1 year. And I remember telling one, I would rather put my money in a savings account, eat it slowly until I die, than starting something new. So I'll be happy for you to touch on that topic. Tell people why the essence of starting saving at a very early stage, and two, how can they do it?
Wow, that's very profound. And like the example you just cited, like I was telling people, it's 98%. 98% of all NSSF savers lose their money within 2 years or less of getting it. So that's a huge percentage. So so basically consistency compounds. The longer you take to start, the less safe you are when it comes to savings and investments. I worked it out that if you were investing and you had a consistent investments of 12% return on investment, you would need 17 years. After 17 years, your money would be making for you as much money as you're being paid at work if you're consistent. Now, even if you threw in a few inconsistencies here and there, maybe 20 years. Okay, 20 years. Now, if you start at 25 right out of uni, that means 45 you're good to go. You're safe. You can work. Now, if you start at 40, it's much harder because at that time, your lifestyle is so different that to even make that 12% is so hard. So consistency compounds. So that's how money works. The earlier your money starts working, the more money it will be making years later.
Right.
If your money starts working late, then you have to be like 120 for it to start to kick in. Now, if you start at this rate, after 20 years, your money will be making about the same money that you are being paid at work, all factors remaining constant. If you give it another 20 years, it will be making you a lot more money than what you work for. And that's the whole idea. That's where you should go, because people think that when you grow older, okay, we don't think about it. First of all, we never think we will grow old. Somehow we think you will always be 25, which doesn't happen.
That's true. The other day I looked at in the mirror and I was shocked at who I saw.
So that's a problem, because people never think of, seriously, when you're young, you don't think you'll ever grow old.
No.
It's usually when you hit around 40, 45 that it starts occurring to you, I think something is changing. Now, by that time, it's too late. It's too late to spring out of the problem. So that's why we keep having these funerals of people 2 to 5 years out of work, because they haven't prepared for life after. So, yeah, I just want to put it out there, and I support what Hilary is saying. The earlier you start, the better it is for you.
Thank you, Moses. Let me just add on one line before Robert kicks me off.
Go ahead.
I, in my experience, and I've dealt with many young people, some with small businesses as small as Rolex stands or even hawking. And I find that guys who earn, say, up to 500, 600,000 manage to save something every month, as compared to, say, people with an office job earning 1.5 and to 2 million shillings. And in my experience, I find that the reason is because the people who are earning seemingly a lot of money, the 1.5, 2 million shillings, put a lot of outside expectations on themselves. What am I saying? You find someone is earning 1.5, they live in an apartment or a house of 400,000, and when you ask them, but you see, you're spending nearly 40% of your income on rent before food and transport and everything else, and the reasons are, how will my girlfriend visit me if I have no place? I can't share a house. I can't share a house with someone. And I think I've advised on these streets that if it helps you get ahead in life in terms of savings by staying home longer, then stay home longer. Well, you see your parents home, if they have allowed you. So I think most people, it is the perceptions that they carry around, thinking that people are judging. But if you're worried about your girlfriend living at 25 because you don't have your own space, sooner or later she'll leave you. She'll leave you at 30 because you're still going to be living hand to mouth. So you're probably better off her leaving you early than leaving you later.
Where have you guys been, man?
Hilary, that's so true. One of the people I was coaching, she had a really good, well-paying job. She was HR manager in her company. And there were these other guys, the blue-collar guys, the guys who push the things around, the guys at the gate, etc., drivers, etc. And all those guys had rental houses, rental things, this Musika everywhere. And these other big shots, they had nothing. All they had were debts, car debt, car loan, what. So do you know what the other guys used to call them? The guys, the blue-collar guys in the company? They used to call these other big shots Bapangisa. Bapangisa.
It was actually